You've been told that walking is the best thing you can do for your aging bones. But what if I told you that walking is actually not enough to stop osteoporosis, and the real secret to bulletproofing your skeleton lies in a 19th century medical principle called Wolff's Law? Today, we are exposing. This video is for educational purposes only. Osteoporosis is a serious condition. Consult your physician or a physical therapist before starting any new exercise or diet program. The information here is to support and manage your bone health, not to cure disease in 7 days. Always train safely. If you are a woman over 50 with osteopenia or osteoporosis, I want to begin by saying something very important. Your fear is real. When you hear the words, "Your bones are thinning," it can feel like the ground under your feet has disappeared. Suddenly, every step feels loaded with danger. Every twist, every bend, every stumble feels like it could change your life. And so many women respond in the same way. They play it safe. They walk. They keep things gentle. They avoid lifting, avoid impact, avoid anything that feels even slightly risky. And walking is wonderful. It supports your heart, your circulation, your mood, your blood sugar, and your independence. But walking alone is not enough to tell the bones in your hips, spine, shoulders, and wrists that they need to become stronger. That is the part most people never hear clearly enough. Bones are not passive. They are living tissue. They are constantly listening to the stress placed on them. And if the stress is too low, the message the body receives is simple. We do not need to build more here. That is why walking, while valuable, often does not provide enough mechanical loading to stimulate meaningful rebuilding in the upper body, the hips, and especially the spine. Your bones need a reason to adapt. They need a signal. They need a challenge that says, "We are still needed. We still have to get stronger." And this is where the fear starts to soften. Because the goal is not to do something reckless. The goal is to do something intelligent. Something precise. Something that tells your bones how to respond without overwhelming your body. You do not need to become a bodybuilder. You do not need to train hard, in the way social media tells you. You need the right kind of resistance, applied safely, consistently, and progressively. That is how the body learns. That is how bones receive the message to maintain and rebuild. And that is why so many women who only walk continue to lose bone over time, even though they are doing something healthy for their heart. So let me say this as clearly and compassionately as possible. You are not fragile because you are older. You are not too far gone. You are not broken. You are underloaded. That means your bones have not been given enough of the right signal to rebuild. In this masterclass, I am going to show you how a simple principle called Wolff's Law helps explain why resistance training can become one of the most powerful tools for supporting stronger bones after 50. And just as importantly, I will show you how to approach it safely, with respect for your body and your current starting point. Because strength is still available to you. Bone rebuilding is still possible. And your next chapter can be one of confidence, not fear. Always speak with your physician or physical therapist before starting any exercise program, especially if you have osteoporosis, a history of fractures, or balance concerns. Now let us get to the biological secret that changes everything. Wolff's Law. This principle comes from the work of anatomist Julius Wolff, and it describes something remarkable about the human body. Bone adapts to the stress placed on it. When bone experiences healthy mechanical load, it responds by remodeling itself over time to better handle that demand. In simple terms, bone is not just a fixed structure. It is living tissue that listens, adapts, and responds. Think of bone like a smart construction system. If the body senses that a bone is being used regularly and loaded safely, it receives a message. We need more support here. And when that message is strong enough, the body begins to reinforce the structure. It does not happen overnight. It happens gradually. But over time, this is one of the ways stronger, more resilient bone is built. This is why bone health is not just about avoiding what feels risky. It is also about giving the skeleton the right kind of challenge. Without that challenge, the body has very little reason to invest energy in keeping bone dense and robust. To understand why this matters so much after menopause, we have to talk about two important bone cells: osteoclasts and osteoblasts. Osteoclasts are the cells that break down old bone. Osteoblasts are the cells that build new bone. In a healthy, balanced system, these two are constantly working in rhythm with each other. Bone is being broken down and rebuilt all the time. That is normal. That is how the skeleton stays alive and responsive. But after menopause, estrogen declines, and that shift changes the tempo. Estrogen helps protect bone by keeping resorption in check. When estrogen drops, osteoclast activity can speed up, and bone breakdown can begin to outpace bone rebuilding. That is one reason osteopenia and osteoporosis become more common after 50. It is not because women are weak. It is because the biology has changed. And this is exactly why waiting, hiding, or only doing very light activity is not enough. The body needs a signal strong enough to wake up the rebuilding side of the equation. Resistance training is one of the most effective ways to send that signal. When you safely load the muscles, tendons, and bones with resistance, the skeleton senses the demand. That demand tells the body, we need to reinforce this structure. In response, osteoblasts are encouraged to get to work. They lay down fresh material. They help support density. They help strengthen the framework. This is why weight-bearing exercise matters so much more than people realize. Not because it forces the body, but because it communicates with the body. It gives your bones a reason to adapt. So the real lesson of Wolff's Law is this: your bones are not helpless, and they are not finished. They are responsive. They are trainable. They are waiting for the right message. Walking may be part of a healthy life, but resistance training is the clearer language for bone remodeling. It is the language that says, build here, strengthen here, protect here. And once you understand that, you stop seeing exercise as a threat and start seeing it as a biological conversation with your skeleton. Now that you understand how your bones respond to load, we move into the most important shift of all, your mindset. For years, many women have been told, be careful. Avoid lifting. Don't risk it. And while safety absolutely matters, there is a hidden consequence to that message. Because here is the truth. Said with complete respect for your situation. You do not become fragile because you lift weights. You become fragile when your body is never asked to be strong. Strength is not dangerous when it is built correctly. In fact, it is protective. It is what helps you move confidently, catch yourself if you stumble, and support your skeleton in everyday life. So instead of asking, is lifting weights too risky? We ask a better question. How do I lift safely and intelligently for my bones? And the answer begins with this principle: controlled, functional movement. Not random exercises. Not high-impact jumping. Not pushing to exhaustion. But movements that mimic real life: standing, sitting, pushing, pulling, hinging, performed slowly, with intention, and with excellent form. This is how we create a safe environment where your bones, muscles, and joints can begin adapting again. Let's talk about a few foundational movements that are especially valuable for bone support. First, the goblet squat. This movement helps load the hips and the femur, the areas most at risk for fractures. Holding a light weight close to your chest, you sit back and down, keeping your spine tall. Even a very light weight creates meaningful stimulus when done correctly. Second, a wall push-up or light dumbbell press. These movements help stimulate bone in the wrists, arms, and shoulders, areas that often weaken over time. Starting against a wall or with very light weights keeps it safe while still sending that important signal to your upper body. And third, the hip hinge or deadlift pattern. This is one of the most important movements for spinal support. Done correctly, it strengthens the posterior chain and helps load the spine in a controlled, safe way. The key here is technique, not weight. Even a small load can be incredibly effective when the movement is precise. Now, I want to emphasize something very clearly. You start where you are, not where you think you should be. That might mean using just your body weight. It might mean holding a 1 or 2 kilogram dumbbell. It might even mean practicing the movement without any weight at all in the beginning. And that is not a step backward. That is a smart foundation. Because when your form is strong, your body becomes safer. And when your body feels safe, it becomes willing to adapt. From there, we apply one of the most important principles in bone health: progressive overload. This simply means that over time, slowly, patiently, you ask a little bit more from your body. A slightly heavier weight. A few more repetitions. A bit more control. Not every day. Not aggressively. But gradually. Because remember, your bones are listening. And when the message becomes just a little stronger, your body responds by reinforcing the structure. That is how change happens. Not in days, but in consistent, repeated signals over weeks and months. And perhaps most importantly, you never sacrifice form for effort. You move with control. You breathe. You stay within a range that feels stable and supported. If something feels sharp, unstable, or painful, you stop, reassess, and adjust. This is not about pushing through fear. It is about building trust with your body again. Step by step. Rep by representative, because when you train this way, something powerful begins to happen. You stop seeing your body as fragile, and you start experiencing it as capable. And that shift alone can change everything about how you move through your life. By now, you understand something incredibly important. Resistance training gives your bones a signal to rebuild. But a signal alone is not enough. Think of it this way. Your body is like a construction site. Exercise is the instruction that says, we need to reinforce this structure. But without the right raw materials, the builders simply do not have what they need to complete the job. And this is where nutrition becomes just as critical as movement. When osteoblasts, the cells responsible for building bone, get activated through resistance training, they require very specific nutrients to do their work effectively. Without those nutrients, the rebuilding process can be limited, even if you are exercising consistently. So while lifting weights tells your body what to do, your nutrition determines how well it can do it. And for many women over 50, this is the missing piece that quietly holds back progress. Now, before we go further, it is essential to say this clearly. Always consult your doctor or healthcare provider before taking any supplements, especially if you are managing osteoporosis or taking medications. Your safety and individual needs always come first. With that said, let us look at the key building blocks your bones rely on. Because not all nutrients work alone. And this is where many common approaches fall short. Most people think immediately of calcium. And yes, calcium is important. It forms part of the structural matrix of bone. But calcium by itself is not enough. In fact, without the right support nutrients, calcium may not be absorbed efficiently or directed to the places you actually want it to go. This is why a more complete approach matters. One that considers how nutrients work together, not in isolation. For example, vitamin D3 helps your body absorb calcium from the digestive system. Vitamin K2 plays a different but equally critical role. It helps guide calcium into the bones where it belongs, rather than allowing it to accumulate in soft tissues. Then there is magnesium, which supports bone structure and helps regulate many of the processes involved in bone metabolism, and collagen, which provides the flexible framework that gives bone both strength and resilience. This is why many women are now turning to a more comprehensive approach, a premium bone density nutritional protocol that combines these elements in the right balance. Because when your body receives both the signal from resistance training and the materials from proper nutrition, you create the conditions that truly support stronger, more resilient bones over time. As we bring this together, I want you to remember one grounding truth. Your body is not working against you. It is responding to the signals it receives. For years, you may have been told to be careful, to avoid strain, to stay within a very small comfort zone. And while that advice often comes from a place of protection, it can sometimes leave your bones without the message they need to stay strong. But now you understand something deeper. You understand that your skeleton is alive, responsive, and capable of adapting when it is given the right kind of input. You are not breaking down. You are simply underloaded. And that means there is a path forward. A safe, intelligent, and empowering path where you gradually introduce resistance, where you move with intention, and where you allow your body to rebuild confidence along with strength. You do not have to rush. You do not have to prove anything. You simply need to begin, and stay consistent. Because over time, those small, repeated signals can support meaningful changes in how your body feels and functions. And remember, exercise is only one side of the equation. When you combine that mechanical signal with the right nutritional support, the building blocks your bones depend on, you create an environment where your body can truly respond. If you would like a simple, structured way to support this process, you can explore the Bone Rebuilding Nutritional Blueprint linked in the description. It is designed to help you understand how key nutrients work together to support your bone health alongside your training routine. But more important than anything else, I want you to leave with this feeling. You are capable. Your body is still adaptable. Your bones are still listening. And with the right approach, you can move from fear to strength to confidence in how you carry yourself every single day. And as you begin, please remember, always work with your healthcare provider or a qualified professional to ensure your plan is safe and appropriate for you. This information is here to support and guide your journey, not to replace medical advice or to promise quick fixes. Train safely, progress gradually, and take care of your body every step of the way.